if you go back to 2012, I'm sure all of us probably would have thought 5 or 6 years later, if we were talking about the Washington Redskins, the quarterback position, and the time coming to pay your franchise quarterback big time money, we might have been talking about RG3, RG knee, as they call him here in the DMV area. But ultimately, we're not. We're talking about Kirk Cousins. Sometimes the NFL is a funny place. Well, you look at Kirk Cousins, and you look at a guy that for the Washington Redskins has made every start the last 2 seasons. Over the last 2 years, he's thrown for over 9,000 combined passing yards, 54 touchdowns to 23 interceptions, led his team to 2 straight winning seasons, a playoff appearance in 2015. While I understand the thought is he's a former 4th-round pick, so is he really a franchise guy? You know, how much of this is his talent alone? How much of this is the talent that he played with in that really high-powered Redskins offense the past couple of seasons? But at some point in time, you have to say, you keep looking for perfection, you're going to pass over pretty damn good. And while I don't know that I classify Kirk Cousins as an elite quarterback, which he most certainly is not, or as really a true blue franchise type of guy, I'm not sure that I'm 100% sold on that. I just don't understand the Redskins' play here. I don't understand what the hell they're waiting for. Because, to me, you have at least, if nothing else, a capable NFL starting quarterback. You have something that at least half of the teams in the league are looking for and hoping they have and really truly don't. You have at least a top 16 quarterback in the league, maybe top 12. So you would think for organizations that spend years, potentially decades, generations looking for a guy like that, see my Chicago Bears as one example, the Kansas City Chiefs as another example. You were able to get this guy in the 4th round of a draft 5-6 years ago, been able to keep him. What's the holdup with getting a contract done? I don't get it. Because at some point in time, signing your quarterback to a long-term deal makes a statement. It makes a statement that this is our guy. It makes a statement for the direction of the franchise. It makes a statement throughout the league. And you say, this is our guy and this is who we're going with. And I just, at this point in time, don't understand why the Washington Redskins continue to drag their feet on this. I don't understand what the play here is. I don't understand what the end game here is here. I don't understand what the organization hopes to accomplish. Bruce Allen, Daniel Snyder, what the hell? I've answered my own question. We're talking about Bruce Allen and Daniel Snyder. You've got a legit NFL starting quarterback. Why the hell would you want to pay him and make a statement, keep him happy, and set the direction of your franchise going forward into a good spot? Why not create controversy and tumult and chaos in the locker room and in the organization and the fan base just for the fuck all of it, really? Because when you look at it, the Redskins play here just doesn't make any sense anymore. It's one thing if you said after 2015 when Kirk Cousins' contract was up that you wanted to see another year. You wanted him to prove it to you. Well, he threw for 4,900 yards in 2016. He had your team on the precipice of the playoffs again for a second straight year. What more do you really need to see to indicate to you that he's at least a long-term starter for you and he needs to get paid? Because all the while you continue to drag your feet and you take this ridiculous approach of continuing to use the franchise tag on him, all you're doing is drawing up the amount of money that he makes each and every single year, and potentially long-term, if you're going to end up giving him a long-term contract anyways, all you're doing is increasing your own damn price, and that makes absolutely no sense, especially when you look at recent big contracts given to quarterbacks. Cam Newton, I think, got a little north of $60 million guaranteed. Derek Carr just got $70 million guaranteed. Andrew Luck in his mega deal got $87 million guaranteed. And when you look at Kirk Cousins, if they would have just re-signed him to a long-term deal after, let's say, the 2015 season, he might have gotten somewhere around $55 to $65 million potentially in guaranteed money. I'd land more in the $55 to $60 million guaranteed, which would have carried you through, at least based off the way most big NFL contracts are structured, through 2016, 2017, 2018, maybe 2019, but let's even just say a 3-year window. Just from a financial standpoint, this has been a loss, a multi-million-dollar loss for the Washington Redskins. Because let's say you gave him let's say $60 million. Let's say he was able, with his agent, with his representation, to exercise enough leverage to be able to get $60 million guaranteed, fully payable over the first 3 years. That's an average of $20 million per year. Again, mind the number, $60 million. Based off of what they paid him in 2016 with the franchise tag, which was $19.953 million. What he's going to make in 2017 playing under the franchise tag again, which is $23.946 million. And then potentially, if they don't get a long-term deal done this year, and they were willing to play it out under the franchise tag, or excuse me, the transition tag even in 2018, Kirk would make $28.78 million. Or if they decided to franchise him because they said if somebody wants to come in and give him big money, we want some draft pick compensation, you're going to have to pay him $34.47 million and still not have him locked up long-term. This is crazy. Instead of potentially have been able to get away with giving them somewhere between 55 to 65 million guaranteed between 2016, 17, and 18, probably more along the lines of the 55 to 60 range, probably only 55 million guaranteed. The Redskins are potentially looking at between 2016, 2017, and 2018 having to pay the guy $72.5 to $78.5 million. They're right in that range. So the Redskins, from a financial standpoint, are taking an L over a 3-year span of over $10 million because they don't want to give the guy a long-term contract. That's stupidity. Who thinks that's a wise financial decision? Because even if you said they would have re-signed him after 2016 and given him the big money, okay, he might have gotten close to Derek Carr money. They still fucking come out ahead compared to the current financial setup based off of what they'd be looking at doing and what they did in 2016, what they're doing right now, and what they're potentially going to have to do in 2018 if they don't get a long-term deal done. And what's crazy for me from the Redskins standpoint is you don't have a young guy waiting in the wings. You're probably not going to get a high enough draft pick to get a marquee quarterback in the 2018 draft unless you pull off another RG3 type of trade. And do you really want to get back into that cycle again? Furthermore, you've got big contracts by big name quarterbacks still to come. Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford. Jimmy Garoppolo is probably going to get the franchise tag from New England after the season. Then you've got guys from the 2015 class, and Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota. They're in their third year, so after this year, the teams are potentially going to be able to look at giving them long-term deals. What do you think is going to happen to the quarterback market? What do you think is going to happen to the total value of the guaranteed money once these guys start getting big deals? Imagine Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, Matt Ryan. If Jimmy Garoppolo is getting the fucking franchise tag, imagine what Kirk Cousins is going to believe and his team is going to believe that they're going to be able to command, and rightfully so. So you're now talking about you paid out more money over a 3-year period because you wanted to slow play this, and you frankly, at this point, in my opinion, have rolled craps. And then you're looking at it even having to dive even more into the long-term money for a guy that's 29 years of age now, and allowing the market to dictate what you're potentially going to have to give the guy. Or potentially looking at transition tagging him and allowing somebody else to set the market for you. Because when you look at it, there are going to be teams like potentially the 49ers, the Browns, the Jets, maybe one or two others, that, not saying they would go after him, but not saying they wouldn't either. At least we know with the 49ers, they have interest. They're going to have cap space. So why would you allow the 49ers to potentially put you in a bad financial situation in terms of the salary cap? Because they're going to sit there and overpay for a guy like Kirk Cousins and try to structure it in such a way that it makes it very challenging and difficult for you to match it from a salary cap standpoint. Why would you allow somebody else to dictate the market for you? In the business world, it's all about leverage, who has it, who can make it, and who can take advantage of it. The Redskins have no real leverage at this point, because Kirk Cousins can ultimately go sign somewhere else, and regardless, somebody is going to pay him a shit ton of money. All the while, the Redskins have no real viable replacement option on their roster, don't really have the draft pick currency to go get another young guy to start this whole process all over again. What's the play here? All you're doing as the clock continues to tick, and Kirk Cousins and his representation clearly knows this, that's why they're slow playing this, and I applaud them for doing it. Draw it out as long as possible. All the Redskins are doing at this point is costing themselves money. Because even if you say Kirk Cousins gets hurt in 2017 or doesn't play as well in 2017, he's still going to hit the open market. He still could potentially get a shit ton of money, and far more than what the Redskins would have had to pay him if they would have re-signed him after 2015 or even after this 2016 season. You're potentially looking at, if a Kirk Cousins does stay healthy and produces similarly to the past 2 seasons, what I think is a realistic expectation for a 29-year-old quarterback entering the prime of his career, now talking about being in year 3 of a full-time starter in the NFL. You're talking about a guy that's going to be asking for somewhere around 5 years, $135 million, with $75 to $80 million guaranteed in the first 3 years. Imagine if a year or two ago you would have given him somewhere like a 6-year, $120 million contract with $60 million guaranteed. The cap hits, the average value would have been much less along the way over the course of the entire contract. The only thing the Redskins are doing right now is creating frustration, uncertainty, and creating possibly a toxic distraction for the organization in 2017. And not even to save themselves money, because they're costing themselves money utilizing this strategy. It is stupid. It makes absolutely no sense. Look, I don't believe that Kirk Cousins is a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Big Ben type. I don't even think he's a Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan type. But he's at least a legit starting quarterback in the NFL. And if you want to be taken seriously in the NFL, you have to have a legit starting quarterback, period. And in order to have one of those guys, you're going to have to pay them like stars, whether they were really stars or not. That is the name of the game in the NFL. It is the most important position in North American professional sports, if not arguably the entire fucking world. Why would you not, if anything, want to make sure that you got it done and worry about other things later? It just absolutely makes no freaking sense to me. The Redskins have to, at this point in time, step up to the plate and get this shit done. Because if they don't get this shit done without something unforeseen happening, all they're doing is playing a massive game of risk that's just going to cost them even more money than it already has. And what are you proving? You're proving nothing other than just how stupid and incompetent that Washington Redskins organization is. If I'm Kirk Cousins, I fight it as long as I can. If I'm his representation, I fight it as long as I can. Utilize the leverage that you have, play other teams against the Redskins, and get yourself fucking paid. Period.